everyone, and welcome back to Lazy Archive, and the third attempt to record this video. Today we're going to be talking about a very popular Mascot horror game known as Poppy Playtime. And we're going to be talking about it today because it recently released its 5th chapter, or I guess installment would be more appropriate. This game, made by Mob Entertainment, was originally released a little over 4 years ago and was a near instant hit, especially on YouTube and amongst horror game YouTubers. Think Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Super Horror Bro, and the like. And today I will be giving you my thoughts about the series while briefly going over each chapter. Chapter 1, iconic villain in Huggy Wuggy, but definitely left you wanting more. And I know for a fact that Huggy Wuggy was an exceptionally popular character design because while I was still working as a grocery store cashier, every once in a while I would see kids carrying around a Huggy Wuggy plush. And if kids in my town, in this part of the world, are carrying around popular video game characters from the internet, you know this shit is popular. Chapter 2. Chapter 2, solid escalation. Simple puzzles that you have to complete, a really terrifying chase sequence, and the main villain, Mommy Longlegs, a very, very good villain. She was voiced by the incredibly talented Elsie Lovelock, so hey, Elsie Lovelock, if you're watching this video, you did a fantastic job in that role because you went from caring and sweet to genuinely horrifying on the flip of a dime, and that is impressive. And this is the chapter that actually introduces the main overarching villain known as the Prototype, but until chapter 5, you don't actually see this villain. Like, you only see his arm until the very end. Chapter 3 it introduces a group of characters called the Smiling Critters, which are a riff on the Care Bears. And they were exceptionally popular because for a long while after that chapter was released, and even today, I just saw a ton of fan art of the Smiling Critters, especially like a lot of shipping artwork between Catnap and Dog Day, which I can see why, and people even today are invested in that particular fictional relationship. Catnap as a villain, very, very scary, especially when you introduce an element of hallucinations with the red gas. While I will say that having to explore such large buildings got a little tedious to watch through, it was still a decent chapter. Number 3, you are introduced to an ally character called Doughy the Doughman, easily one of the most heartbreaking characters in the entire series. He is a guy that is trying to protect a collection of other human toy hybrids in his little safe haven, and due to the machinations of the main villain and the chapter villain, which is essentially a man in the machine via like GLaDOS from Portal 2. I can't remember his name, but he was like the smartest guy who worked at the factory that this story takes place in. And he was so smart that they couldn't get rid of him, so they controlled him by putting his brain in a machine. And I once again make the comparison to Portal's GLaDOS, because psycho human robot person thing. I don't know where I'm going with this. The boss fight at the very end, tough, but it's worth it for the very last scene where when you're putting Doughy out of his misery, he's literally crying and apologizing like, oh, my heart. And finally, chapter 5, we are introduced to a character called Lily Lovebraids, who was once a person who made brainwashing videos for Playtime Co. in order to subdue the children that they had turned into giant toys via brainwashing, which was genuinely unsettling to watch Like her creepy videos of joy, and you are always a toy. You've never been human. Flesh is bad. Plastic is good. And you even get to learn more about Huggy Wuggy, the the villain from the very first chapter of the game, which was much needed because outside of a chase scene, we really didn't get to know the character via notes like who were they before they were a toy and what kind of torture they went through. You figure that stuff out this time, and it adds a much needed depth to the character. And then finally, we get introduced to the prototype, which is a genuinely scary design. He is essentially a spindly metal jack-in-the-box grafted onto a set of giant mechanical spider legs that are moved via human muscle tissue and God knows what kind of growth medium gel, whatever the hell that means. And you actually get to see some of the body parts of villains from previous chapters grafted onto him, which is ugh. Very big spider guy, very creepy, big cyborg spider guy, I suppose. And we finally get to learn who he was. I won't spoil that for the sake of this video, but it's a decently nice review. I will say it was a little weird to hear that a lot of people were very dissatisfied with the reveal of the prototype because I suppose they built up this character so much in their heads and expected them to look a certain way that when they saw how he actually looked, they were supremely disappointed and took out their anger on the game itself, which, while it's not the best chapter in the series, gameplay-wise, especially the section where you have to navigate the dollhouse of Lily Lovebraids, that chapter's villain. But it was still a solid chapter. And anybody who's being a little weird about the main big bad villain's design, like, come on, dude, you're getting angry at an independent video game studio? Like, I realize you're highly invested in this game, but seriously, there's no need to get so mean and nasty about it. Okay, moving past that. Actually, no, not moving past that. I can also understand why this chapter rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because a lot of people expected this to follow suit in other chapter-based indie horror titles like Bendy and the Ink Machine, and they expected that Chapter 5 would be the end. And I believe Mob Entertainment was very, very vague about whether or not this was going to be the end or there was a chapter after that, and that uncertainty also added to a lot of like the bad vibes people got from it. But my point being, when Chapter 6 finally releases, I genuinely hope that it is the last chapter. If they try and milk this cow anymore by adding Chapter 7, Chapter 8, and dragging on the story more than they need to, then I will have some, like, things to say. More so than I've already said, I guess. But yeah, I am still excited for what is going to happen when Chapter 6 finally reveals, and I'm excited for the story to come to its inevitable end. Like, I've enjoyed watching each chapter come out over the years, but I think when Chapter 6 does finally roll around, it is time for it to end the story. And for those who are big fans of Poppy Playtime and who want it to continue, I have heard that there is going to be a spin-off video game called Poppy Playtime World. So I guess on top of having a toy factory filled with inhuman experiments, they also had time to build a theme park, but so why not? And I think for the time being, I've said all I wanted to say about Poppy Playtime. Except these quick little things. Elsie Lovelock, you killed it as Mommy Longlegs. You killed it as Mommy Longlegs, if I haven't already said that. Michael Kovac, who voiced Dowie the Doughman, the man has yet again shown that he has crazy range and is a very, very good voice actor. And I think the third and final thing, never ever let Mob Entertainment forget that they did a scumbag thing and made NFTs based on their characters and revealed important lore through NFTs. Like, I don't remember if it was Mob Entertainment specifically that created them, but whoever they allowed to do that, bad move. Bad, scummy move. NFTs have always been and always will be a scam, and doing that with a popular video game that is very popular amongst kids is darn near predatory. Anywho, that aside, if you like a solid, like indie horror, mascot horror title with decent gameplay, puzzles, voice acting, and art direction, go play Poppy Playtime for yourself. I'm never going to play it because I do not like horror video games, but you watching on the other side of the screen, you go ahead and do that if you already haven't done it already. Or go watch a YouTuber play through it. That's how I enjoy consuming that particular bit of media. Anywho, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you ever so much for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful time.